There is one thing most people never recover from, and that is when they fall for a charlatan. Now, what is a charlatan? A charlatan is someone who falsely claims to have special knowledge or a skill. Now, what's the difference between a charlatan and a con artist? A con artist is someone who wants to prevent you from getting better. So they trick you into agreeing with them, and that agreement you enter into will not benefit you. But to you, it appears like there is benefiting you, so you agree with the individual thinking it's just with some value or some truth you're agreeing with, while you're actually falling for a trap. And it's later that you realize, oh dear, this is bad news. Now, a charlatan differs from a con artist in the sense that with a con artist, it's personal. There's something they want to withhold from you. A charlatan is all about getting a leverage over you. A charlatan operates out of a survival instinct. Instead of looking for long-term solutions that will benefit both themselves and the people around them, they just want to fake it just to get a leverage over people. And why do they want to leverage over people? Because this is what grants them a psychological high of security. They want to have a leverage over you just to avoid being rejected or being discarded. That's how a charlatan works. Think about it. Let's say you have someone who claims to be this high-profile politician. So you Google them, you get this website where you see their political activities here and there. So think, this guy's indeed a politician and he used to be an activist. But it's later that you find out that that website was filled with hoaxes and he was never an activist to begin with. And many of the likes he have on his posts on Facebook are from bot accounts. He purchased some followers at some criminal enterprise just to fake this profile of his. Now, this you find out much later. But when you met this individual and he claimed to be this politician and showed you some evidence that he is this politician, you fell for it. And because you fell for it, you entrusted your political ambitions to this individual. But now he's using those political ambitions against you. Now he tricked you into investing in his own enterprise. And what happens? You end up investing, let's say, half of your financial savings, and then one day he just disappears. You've been swindled out of half of your savings. And then you figure out he did this to almost 100 other people. So this man, he got a lot of money in a very short period of time. And now that money, he used that money to purchase a nice house, and he has his own legitimate business that he has right now. And if you sue this man, the judge will tell you, but sir, you say this man scammed you, but when you look at his website, he makes plain that he has political ambitions. And he tells you that he was active to fight against injustice in society. But nowhere this guy specifically say on his website he was a politician. Nowhere. And even so, you're the one that decided to invest in his cause with the full knowledge that you may lose it. So now that he filed for bankruptcy for that foundation or that business, hey, despite law, there's nothing we can do about it. So in this case, the charlatan used a loophole in the law to swindle people in a legal way so he can't be prosecuted. But how come you fell for it? It is because there was some dysfunction in you that the charlatan triggered. Remember, charlatans are different from con artists. A con artist wants to withhold something from you, and they want you to agree with them. A charlatan just wants to have a leverage over you. So they are secured psychologically and often also financially. So a charlatan needs to know what tricks, what makes you tick. So a charlatan is similar to is similar to a well-qualified psychologist, because the charlatan conducts a whole psychological analysis of you. And once he has seen through your psychology, he will now trigger the dysfunction you have in your psychology to have a leverage over you. For example, it can be that you suffer social anxiety due to how you were raised by your parents. And now, instead of facing how you were raised by your parents and going to therapy, you now develop this introverted attitude towards other people. But at the same time, you want social intimacy, but because you're withholding yourself all the time, you are in frustration. And the easiest way out for you is to blame other people for it. But you're the one withdrawing yourself from other people. So you're the one missing out on intimacy. And why you withdrawing yourself from people? Because you haven't processed the trauma. Okay, that you were traumatized is not on you. It's not your fault. But as an adult, it is your responsibility to face it and to heal from it, to look for help. You don't even want to admit that there's something wrong with you. You just want to blame other people. And let's say one day you encounter someone who sees this about you, and he tells you, man, a lot of people are like shit. They say they're there for you, but they're never there. So this individual agrees with your assumptions. And by agreeing with your assumptions, you end up developing a bond. Because now finally you feel intimate with someone, because that's what you were lacking in your life: intimacy, social intimacy. And now this individual agrees with your darkness, and because he agrees with your darkness, you feel a type of intimacy to this individual. So you end up opening up yourself to the individual. So that individual now has a leverage over you. Now, if you face the trauma that you got from your parents or the people around you, and you went into therapy and you were healed from it, you wouldn't have been so introverted anymore, and you would have social intimacy with other people. You would learn to be socially skilled. If that was the case, this charlatan would have never been able to gain a leverage over you. But because you were in darkness and you didn't want to face the dysfunction, now he used that same dysfunction you didn't want to face to have a grip on you. And before you know it, this individual has access to your bank account, access to your personal data. And before you know it, this individual knows so much about you that they are now use this information against you to blackmail you into doing things for them. Either they blackmail you into a sexual relationship so they can satisfy their sexual urges, or they want to live a lifestyle of ease, so they trick you into marrying them. And once you're married to them, now suddenly they become so lazy and you have to do all the work. Or they pretend to be this freedom fighter or this activist or this social justice warrior or whatever, and they trick you into joining one of their groups. And the group they want you to join consists of other victims who have been tricked just like you. What I'm saying is, a charlatan can only gain a leverage over you because there's some unaddressed dysfunction in you. That's why it's important to be renewed in your mind, because if you don't address the traumas and the misinformation you were fed, eventually that will turn into dysfunction, and this dysfunction is something you will not notice yourself, but others will notice it. And the charlatan is like a high-skilled or a high-profile psychologist that knows how to see through your psychology, and the charlatan will use this dysfunction against you. And it's by using it against you that he has a leverage over you. Now, a charlatan will not always openly blackmail you, especially not in the beginning. A charlatan is all about you developing trust in them. And it's this trust you develop in them that grants them access to your psychology and to your emotions. And a charlatan will always distract you with enemies. For example, if a man wants to gain a leverage over you, a woman, just because he wants to satisfy his sexual urges, but has no interest in being your husband or whatever, what he'll do is he'll approach you, he'll make you feel comfortable around him by enchanting you, and once that has succeeded, now he will talk bad about his boss or about one of his former best friends who betrayed him. So he will pull you into fighting those non-existing enemies. And because you join him in fighting those non-existent enemies, the bond you have with an individual becomes deeper and deeper. And the deeper your bond towards them becomes, the more leverage they gain over you. And before you know it, this guy is suggesting to move in with him, or you get married together, and yeah, he got what he wanted, and you'll notice quite soon his attitude will change, and before you know it, he ghosts you. He just leaves you out of the blue. Most charlatans will ghost you once they realize you're about to figure them out. So, a charlatan, again, is someone who falsely claims to have a special skill or to have special knowledge. Now, if someone has knowledge or they have a skill, they're not a charlatan. For example, if you did a minor in medicine during college or during university, you're not a medical expert, absolutely not, but you do have knowledge of medicine. So even though you don't have the title of a medical professional, you have some knowledge of medicine because you did a minor. Are you a charlatan for talking about medicine? No, because you do have the knowledge. It's just that you are not an expert in it because you didn't graduate in medicine. So someone that's a psychologist who also talks about medicine and how medicine affects you, he's not a charlatan because he has the knowledge. He can prove it. He did a minor. But he may not be allowed to give medical advice in certain settings because he doesn't have the medical degree. That's the only thing. But if you have someone who claims to be a medical expert, but he never finished medical school, or he never even attended medical school, now this is a fraud. This is an open charlatan. In this case, the charlatan has to fake it so well to trick you. And the only way he can succeed in faking it is if there is some dysfunction in you that they can use. Now, it's not on you that the charlatan took advantage of you. But it is on you to figure out how this could have happened and to look at yourself for improvement and to become better. Because most of the time, when you fall for a charlatan, it's because there's something in you that's unaddressed. It's unaddressed by you. Others may notice it. Others may point it out in a spiteful or negative way. Okay, that's on them, but it's on you to face the things inside of you that are unaddressed. By facing the unaddressed issues inside of you, you deal and confront the dysfunction. And when you deal with the dysfunction by confronting it, no charlatan can take advantage of it anymore. But as long as you are in denial of some dysfunction inside of you or some dysfunction in your community, any charlatan can appear and take advantage of you. Because remember, charlatans don't only go after individuals, they also go after groups. If in a group or in a community, people don't address certain things, any charlatan can come and take advantage of that dysfunction. Maybe there's a guy who's part of a pedophile ring and he just wants to gain a leverage in the community so he can have access to the children so that his people can kidnap the children for the child brothels. Let's say this is going on. And let's say now that this charlatan was actually the head of some pedophile ring, he needs to gain access to the community. He will fake being some police officer, or he may fake being whatever profession just to find a foothold in the community. And once he has a foothold, he will now mention potential solutions for the issue of the community. And because he mentions potential solutions, without forcing people to face themselves. People think, this is an easy way out. He will offer a quick fix to the public. And by offering the quick fix, people will begin to see him as a good guy, as someone that's there for them. And it's once he has the trust of the public that he will make his move. He will talk more intimately with the people about their children, about their spouses, about issues in the community. And by now, people think he's one of them. And it's then that his men will come in and kidnap the children here and there. And when the children go missing, he'll be the first one to help searching for the children, just so that nobody would ever suspect him. That's how charlatans do it. Charlatans will rob you and then help the police looking for the robber. Anyway, a charlatan can only gain a leverage over you or over a community if there's an unaddressed dysfunction. So whatever the dysfunction is, address it so that Satan cannot use charlatans to hinder you and to train you. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ and be at peace.